You can go through the agenda, pause the video if you want to. This is the fourth session. So far we have had 3 sessions. This is the disclaimer, please go through it. What you have learned so far, so you know how you can greet someone in the German language, and then let's say you meet someone and then you talk about stuff, and then how to take leave from them. So you can say bye in English, but in German we say ciao, auf Wiedersehen, or let's say if it's evening you can say good night. You can wish good night to them just before you are taking leave from them, in many other ways. Then you know also how to ask about someone's well-being. For example, wie geht's, was machen Sachen, wie geht's euch, wie läuft es? Some simple phrases, and you also know the grammar behind them. Most importantly, you know how to write simple sentences, you know how to write simple W word questions, how to write simple yes or no questions. By how to write, I mean where is the verb, where is the W word, where is the subject, where is the object, such aspects of the German language. Then you know what are Personalpronomen. You can also think of them as pronouns. For example, he, she, it, they, I, you. But in German, there are a few more. So for you, so when you say you can mean just one person. You can mean more than one person. Also, you can be informal and formal. So for example, formal you is sie. And this is also for singular and plural. But let's say if you want to be informal and talking to just one person, so it will be du. But if there is more than one person and you want to be informal, so it's ja. Okay, then you also know er, es, sie. Then you also know what small sz is. This is for this is they. Okay, so they. Then you know how to count from 0 to 10. You also learned how to count 20, how to say 20, 30, 40, 50, and so far, and so on. Then this was also how to say a few things about yourself. For example, who you are, where you come from, which languages you speak, and most importantly, when your birthday is. Then you learned that when you are learning a new noun in German, you should always learn it with the correct article. And when I say correct article, you should learn the correct article in nominative case. What is nominative? Just ignore, you can ignore that for now. We will learn about that in just a few minutes. So let's say if you learn the word for table in German, so it's Tisch, but you should learn it as der Tisch. Okay, so not just Tisch, you should learn it as der Tisch, because there is the article for it. And for example, if you learn the German word for cup, it is usually Tasse, and you should learn it as die Tasse. Then you learned how to give directions, like go left, go right, go straight. So it's gehen Sie rechts, gehen Sie links, gehen Sie geradeaus. Today what you will learn is, you will learn nominative and accusative. What are these? You should also learn dative and genitive, but not now. But the idea is that you are aware of that there are 4 cases in German language: nominative, accusative, dative, and genitive. Today you will learn only nominative and genitive, nominative and accusative. Then you will learn to identify when to use which case, but today we will only focus on nominative and accusative cases. Then learn the nominative, accusative versions of definite, indefinite, negations, and possessive articles. So you know these articles, and yeah, by the way, you have only learned so far definite, indefinite, and negations article. Possessive article you will learn in the next session, but you will learn at least these 3 variations. You will learn their nominative and accusative variations. For example, ein is an indefinite article. You use it usually for masculine and neutral objects, but when you are in accusative case, ein becomes einen for masculine, but it still remains ein for neutral. If this is confusing, just wait for a few minutes and we will get to the topic. Then we will learn a very important aspect, though almost ignored. When is the first alphabet of a word in German language in uppercase? For example, the word I in English is always in capital, right? Or the first word alphabet of a name is always in capital letters in English, right? If you are, let's say if you write Michael, so M will always be capital, right? So Mueller, M will always be capital. So, but there are other rules also which will help you to not make any mistake when you are writing German on a piece of paper, when you are writing an email in German. Then of course you will learn how to write an email. This is more or less not how to write an email, but what you should focus on when you are writing an email, just so that you don't make any grammatical or any punctuation mistakes. Then we will look at, also very important, topic, that is pronunciation. Today we'll only focus on the alphabets or the combination of EI and versus IE. So you will see words, learn words where EI will be there and then where IE will be there. So how to pronounce words having EI and how to pronounce words having IE. Okay, homework. So please make a list of activities that you do on a daily, weekly, monthly or yearly basis that you like or do not like to do. And then when you say do not like to do, that means but you still have to do them, right? Otherwise you would not do them. So make a list of activities that you do on a daily. For example, daily you brush your teeth, or daily you write emails, daily you turn your laptop on, or let's say weekly you go to buy groceries, right? So you can categorize them. Why do you do this? So you do this and then you try to learn the German words for them. So it can be verbs or it can be nouns. Okay, for example, shopping, when you go to buy groceries, so one word that you should know is the shopping cart, right? So it's Einkaufswagen, or if it's a shopping basket, it will be Einkaufskorb. And then you pay, right, at the end, at the counter. So how do you say that in German? So stuff like that. And this exercise you can do, but you don't have to. It's not that important. Okay, today let's see how you can ignore the text on the slide. Just focus on what I'm saying. So the idea of this small session is that you should learn to use the correct article for the object in a sentence. So object, let's say if I say I read and then I say I read a book. So a book is the object, right? To be more specific, book is the object, a is the article, right? Now, is this object in accusative or nominative case? That is important because that will decide how the article will change when it comes to German language. For example, let's say you have the sentence Ich lese, ich schreibe, right? Here you have the pronoun as subject, then these are the verbs, okay? But to add more context, let's say you are saying Ich lese das Buch. So book is book and it happens to be neutral, so it's das Buch, okay? Or Ich schreibe das Buch. Now these are, so you will say, this is the nominative article. You are wrong. It looks like nominative article, but it is actually accusative article. Why? So the idea is that, not the idea, but the fact is that thus remains thus for nominative and for accusative cases. Okay, but for example, something like there, this is masculine, this becomes den when it is accusative. In nominative it still remains there. We'll talk about these, but talk about this aspects, just in a few minutes. So there are many rules to identify when is the object in accusative case or when is the object in dative case, or nominative or genitive. Genitive, it's very obvious, but accusative and dative, accusative and nominative, it might get confusing. So for example, but there are some rules that you can think of. So whenever you are using the verb sein, the object will always be in nominative case, usually. Okay. When you are using the verb haben, the object will almost always be in accusative case. So you can remember some rules like that. Also, when you have a verb and the verb is describing some kind of an action that is being done on the object. For example, here the book is being read, right? So you're doing an action on the book. So here it will be in accusative case. Again, these are just the rules that I use to identify whether it is accusative or dative, accusative or nominative, and you can. So one rule is that sein, what comes after sein, the object will now almost always be in nominative case. After haben, almost always in accusative case. Whenever you have a verb that is describing some kind of an action being done on the object, then again accusative. Not always. Okay, for example, you have the verb helfen. So in English we say help, you help someone, but in German we have the verb helfen. But when you use this one, the object will always be in dative case. But today we will not learn about dative, we'll only focus on nominative and accusative. Let's look at a few more examples. Okay, I'll zoom in over here. So you have the sentence over here, I have the chair. If you want to write this in German, so I is ich, have is haben is habe for ich. Then you have chair is Stuhl, and chair happens to be masculine, it's their chair, sorry, their stool. So there becomes den, because here it is accusative. If you notice on the banner, accusative bestimmter article. Okay. So as I said, when you have the verb haben, what comes after is the object is almost always an accusative case. Okay. Let's look at the next example. So here you have, so here you have the, again, I have the cup. So I have remains the same. Ich habe, cup is Tasse, and Tasse is feminine, die Tasse, and die remains die. So it's here, if you see, bestimmter article, but accusative bestimmter article, and it happens to be feminine. Okay, this one was masculine. Masculine because chair is considered to be masculine and cup is considered to be feminine in German language. So here die remains die. Next example, I have the window. Okay, you might think, when will I say this sentence? And I know you are right, but just for the sake of understanding the grammar, let's say at some point someone is saying I have the window. So the correct way to say this in German is ich habe, of course. Then you have window. Window is Fenster. Fenster happens to be neutral in German language, and the bestimmte article is das. In nominative case, in accusative also it is das. Okay, so there is no change. Only for masculine there is a change. For feminine, for feminine and for neutral there is no change. Also for plural there is no change. So I have the tables. Here you are thinking, so tables mean like the tables that we keep our monitors or stuff on, but here I mean tables like Excel tables, okay, that you type data inside into. So table in German is die Tabelle. Again, this is not the table that we use to keep our stuff on. This is the table that we use for data entry process, something like Excel table or any other kind of table that you're using. So table is die Tabelle, plural is die Tabellen. Again, die remains die. Okay. So the only change that you'll see is there. So this is the table that you need to remember. So focus here. So the table gives you masculine, feminine, neutral, plural, bestimmte articles for nominative case. So there, die, das, die. In accusative case, there becomes den. Everything else remains as it was before. Okay. Then you have this possessive article. Sorry, not possessive article. Unbestimmte article, or in English as we say indefinite article. So ein, eine, ein. It does not exist for plural. But in accusative, feminine, neutral remain the same. The masculine one changes from ein to einen. Okay. Then for Negationsartikel, again kein, keiner, kein, keiner. So they remain the same. Most of them, only masculine changes from kein to keinen. Okay. So you just have to remember that when the object is in accusative case, the only change that you will see will be only for masculine cases, right? There becomes den, ein becomes einen, kein becomes keinen. This is only for nominative to accusative. For dative, which we will consider in the next session, there will be changes also for these ones. All right, let's look at a few more examples before we move on. So ich lese das Buch. Buch is das. Then you have ich lese Vertrag, den Vertrag, because Vertrag is der Vertrag. So it's der Vertrag, but it will become den because here it is an accusative case. Then you have ich lese die PDF-Datei. Datei is feminine, die PDF-Datei, but it remains die even though it is accusative case. Then you can just, like, if you want to frame this sentence into a yes or no kind of question, you just move the verb to the first position and use an appropriate subject as a personal pronoun. So liest du das Buch, liest du den Vertrag and not der Vertrag, liest du die PDF-Datei. Plural cases, again no changes. So ich lese die Bücher, ich lese die Verträge, ich lese die PDF-Dateien. So here for single there was change, for plural there is no change, even though it is. So here it is plural. Don't think it of as masculine. It is plural. Don't consider it to be masculine plural. Just think consider it to be plural. All right, something important about pronunciation. So how important this is for a beginner? It is very important. How important is this for an experienced learner? By experience, I mean like you already have A1 or A2, or you have been using Duolingo for quite some time. It's even more important, because then if you make mistakes, when the words when you pronounce a word containing IE incorrectly, there will be, I mean, it's just not good, is what I'm trying to say. Let's look at examples. For example, you have this ice, so you have EI in this word, so it's ice, okay, and not ease, okay. So EI, you can think it of pronouncing it as I, and IE, you can think it of, when you want to pronounce this, it is E, okay. It becomes more clear when you look at the example. So here again you have IE, so it is E, so meter. Then you have EI, so I, so reason and not reason. By the way, there is a word reason, and it means big or very big, okay. I know you will say this means big, but you can also use reason. Reason is, I mean, it's kind of an, so you say it to give more emphasis. For example, Burj Khalifa is reason gross, so it's very big. Then you have Weizen and not Weizen. Weizen means flour, not wheat, sorry, wheat. And then you have Weinen and not Wienen, because EI, so I and not, so Weinen, then it means to cry. So whenever, idea is that when you are learning new German words, when you see IE, pronounce this as E. When you see EI, pronounce it as I. I hope that is clear. Then homework for you, or we can do it together. So please think about, what do you eat in the morning for breakfast, what do you have for lunch, what do you have for dinner. And when you say in the morning I eat bread, right? So to say in the morning, you can say morgens. To say in the afternoon, you can say mittags. To say at night or in the evening, you can say abends. Okay, if you want to say in the morning I eat bread with jam, so morgens esse ich Brot mit Marmelade. In the morning I drink coffee, so morgens trinke ich Kaffee. Okay, if you notice here, the verb is at the second position, the first position is taken by something else, so the subject comes after the verb. Then you have mittags esse ich Pizza, mittags trinke ich Cola, abends esse ich Salat, abends trinke ich Tee. Again, these are just some random examples. Please try to write what you eat, okay. Then when is the first alphabet of a word in a sentence in uppercase? There can be many rules, but 3 rules that have helped me so far in my normal today life. So when you have, so this is obvious, so when we write sentences, then we have full stop, then we write sentences, then we have full stop. Of course, you'll say there will be commas, there will be semicolons, there will be colons, but I am only concerned about full stop. So when you have a word that stops immediately after a full stop, it starts immediately after a full stop, that first alphabet of that first word will always be in uppercase. I mean, this is obvious, but I just wanted to have mentioned it. Then there are some, for example, you have this pronoun Z. So this means you, singular or plural, but always formal. So this is, the S is always capital. Doesn't matter where it is in a sentence, okay. Doesn't matter where it is in the sentence, it's always capital. For example, do, right? Do or ish. Only when they start after a full stop, it will be capital. Otherwise, let's say if you have ish here in the middle of the sentence, so it will be written as ish. Okay, do. But if it starts after a full stop, then it will be capital ICH or capital DU. Okay. But for Z, S is always capital. Don't confuse this C with this Z, which means she. Okay, here, unless it starts after a full stop, otherwise it will be a small case. Then the first alphabet of a noun. So when you have nouns in German language and you are writing them, so the first alphabet of a noun, irrespective of where it is placed in a sentence, will always be capital. Okay. Let's look at few ways to write emails. Again, there can be many ways to write emails, but I will provide. So let's see some standard ways that how I learned or how I write emails. So let's say if you're writing an email to, let's say for a job application, and you have no idea who on the other side is going to read your email. Okay, so you just want to address it to anyone who is going to read your email. So you can say sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, comma, then you can have your bodies of paragraphs, and you will have the mit freundlichen Grüßen, first name, last name. Again, first name, last name. So let's say if your first name is Max, so you will write Max. If your last name is Müller, so you will write Müller. Okay, that's what I mean. Then let's say if you know on the other side it's a woman, and again you are not very close to this person, so you want to be respectful, so you will write sehr geehrte Frau, last name. You can think it of as, you know, Miss or Mrs. last name. So let's say if it's Müller, like some lady who has surname Müller, so you will write sehr geehrte Frau Müller. Okay, again this one remains the same. Then you have, let's say if it's on the other side, it's a man, so Frau will become Herr, and the last name, let's say again, so you will say sehr geehrte Herr. Let's say the last name is Müller, so you will write Müller. But here it is, notice it's sehr geehrte, and it's geehrte. Again, when you are speaking, you will not see any difference, so they both sound almost the same. So geehrte, because when you have R at the end of a word, it's not emphasized. But when you are writing, so there is a difference, okay? So when it's Herr, it's ER. When it is woman, it's E. When you don't know who it is, you are writing Damen and Herren, so it's E. Then let's say if you don't want to be that formal, if you just want to say hello, I mean, I'm not saying hello is not formal, just saying you can also, instead of saying sehr geehrte Damen und Herren or sehr geehrte Frau or sehr geehrter Herr, you can just say hello Damen und Herren, hello Frau, last name, then hello Herr, last name. Okay, and this, by this I mean this, they remain the same. Also you can change these as well. So instead of writing mit freundlichen Grüßen, you can write viele or liebe Grüße. Okay, don't write both at the same time. So it's either write viele Grüße or liebe Grüße. Notice here it is E, here it was EN. Why this is so, I don't want to go into it right now, because then it will be, I have to explain what you can think it of as, because there is mit, and mit happens to be a dative kind of preposition, so that's why the ending is different. But don't ignore it for now, because you can, I mean, emails, you don't have to think about grammar that much. Right, then also if you don't want to just, I mean, let's say if you're writing an email to, where you don't have to write Damen and Herren. I mean, it normally means ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to write, you can just say hello and comma. Okay, and then, or you can, let's say if you're on first name basis, you're writing to a colleague, you can say hello first name. So let's say the first name is Max, so you will write hello Max, if it's, let's say, or hello Lisa. Okay, I have noticed that, okay, this one and this one are the same, so yeah, there's no, so these two blocks contain the same information. Okay, also let's say if you work for a company here in Germany and you are writing an email to the IT desk or someone else, you can also write hello team. Okay, so you don't have to stick to all of these, you can say hello team, or whichever way you want to refer to the people on the other side. Some people also say hello Leute, but I think it's not polite to write to people, to a team with whom you have no contact. Okay, all right, I just want to say that there can be many other ways to write emails, but these are just standard ways. Also, what I want you to remember is that, oh, I forgot about it almost. So if you notice here, I hope it is clear. So I have written the first alphabet of first word of first paragraph is usually written in lowercase. So here dot dot dot, whatever is the first word over here, that first alphabet of that first word is usually in lowercase, except there are some rules. For example, if it is let's say the word, you start with the word Z, right? You start with the word Z, then it will be capital. If it's a noun, again it will, let's say you start with this noun, so M will be capital. Otherwise it will be lowercase. For example, let's say you're starting with email, right? In attachments you will find this. So in German you will say, let's say if you say in attachment you find the file, so you will say im Anhang. So im Anhang means in attachment. See, notice I will be small, okay? So the first alphabet or first word or first paragraph is usually written in lowercase. Only for emails, okay? Why this is so? Because this is considered to be one sentence. So you have sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, then comma, then this is not a new, it's the same sentence which you are continuing over here. So no need to capitalize it. Then please learn to say following. So, and if you don't know, we will cover this in the next session, I believe. So you can say, if you want to say at 7, so you will say 7 Uhr. If you want to say at 21 or at 9, so you will say and then 21:30 Uhr, 23 Uhr. So, and how do you say this one? So you first say this part. So 23 Uhr 37. So you say the hand, so you say the R, then you say Uhr, then you say the minute part. We will cover this in the next session. So you can try to see if you can write all of this in German. So it is 17:30. How do you write this? The meeting is at 17:30. The meeting is from 2. The meeting ends at. The meeting starts after. The meeting ends before. See if you can write all of this in German, and then I'll just give you the answer over here. So if you say ist, so is will be ist. At you can say from you can say von. These are just different words for German words for meeting. So you can just say das Meeting, die Besprechung, das Meeting, die Besprechung, die Sitzung, die Konferenz, das Gespräch. Again, there are subtle differences between them. For example, Gespräch is when you normally have a meeting where you are going, let's say for example you have an interview, right? So that is considered to be a Gespräch. Meeting can be just, it can also be, let's say, a seminar, you know, someone in your team wants to present something and there are 1,000 people in that, so that can be a meeting. Besprechung is usually a discussion. Okay. Conference, I don't think I have to explain what conference is. This is obvious. So to say something starts, you can use the verb beginnen. So ich beginne, du beginnst, sie beginnt. Here it is the meeting, so the meeting is third party singular, so you can use this one, beginnt. All right, so the idea of this particular part is that I've been requesting you to focus on specific portions of your day and see if you can describe them in German. Okay, for example, usual mornings. Let's say there is an usual let's say you woke up at a specific time, and then what all you do after you wake up, and let's see if you can write all of this in German. So the first thing that you do is you wake up, of course. Then you can say ich stehe auf. Okay, also another verb for this is ich wache auf. Then you have I open the window. So to open you can say ich öffne. Another verb is aufmachen, so das Fenster. So I make my bed, you can say ich mache mein Bett. I brush my teeth, so ich putze mir die Zähne. This is a reflexive verb. So the verb is sich. The verb is sich, dative, etwas, Akkusativ, putzen. That's why it is ich putze mir and not mich. Please go through all of these examples. If you have any questions, please let me know. Many of you will find it difficult to write all of these because here we are using reflexive verb, which is actually not part of which you have not learned so far. So we will focus on, see, it's easier to write about our evenings. When I say evenings, our evenings, so almost every day 5:30 to 6:30 we have these sessions. So, and let's see if we can speak specific parts of the evenings and see if we can write that in German. So I learn German. The meeting starts. The meeting starts at 17:30. He shares the presentation. He speaks. I listen. I speak. I ask. He answers. I ask the questions. He answers the questions. Let's see if we can write all of this in German. So to learn, you can use lernen. So ich lerne Deutsch. The meeting is das Meeting. Starts, you can use the verb beginnen. So beginnt. Starts at 17:30. So beginnt at is Then he shares. There can be many German verbs for share depending on the context. Here the correct one is teilen. Also, you will notice if you have been working in Germany, people just say, they just use the English verb as it is in German. So they will say share die Präsentation, or du kannst die Präsentation sharen. So they'll just use the English verb as it is in German, but you can also use teilen. Then he speaks, so spricht, the verb is sprechen. Listen, höre, speak, spreche. Ask is frage. The verb is fragen, but fragen for ich conjugated is frage. He answers, antwortet. Then you have this is important, please pay attention. So here I ask is ich frage, but when I want to say I ask the questions, here I'm saying ich stelle die Fragen. You can say ich frage die Fragen. That is not incorrect. It's just that not how the German language. That's not how you say in German language. So if you go in leo.org, you will see to ask questions, they will write it as this, Fragen. So this phrase you should learn. So Fragen stellen. You might think this is not this. I mean, it's difficult to digest this, but think about it. Let's say if you want to say you are removing your shirt, right? So you can say you are removing your shirt, or you say I take off my shirt. Now take off my shirt. Let's say someone is learning English for the first time. It might sound confusing, right? You are taking your shirt off. Similarly, I hope that did not confuse you. So Fragen stellen. So you are, I mean, if you go to translate this in English, it will sound like I stand questions, or I am making questions stand. But don't try to translate this one in English. That's how you say. When you want to say ask questions, you will say Fragen stellen. Then also what is important is here he answers the questions, and here instead of using antworten, I use beantwortet. So what is the difference between antworten and beantworten? Simply, I can say when the object is a person, then you can use antworten. When the object is not a person, you use beantworten. What do I mean by this? So let's say he answers me. So here you will use antworten. But if I want to say he answers my questions, so you might think, okay, he's still answering you, but yes, but he is answering my questions. So here it will be beantworten. Okay, so the object here is not a person. The object here is not a person. So it can be anything. If it is anything not a person, you use the verb beantworten. Again, if you say beantwortet die Fragen, is anybody going to point out your mistake? No, this is still even. But it's good to know what are the subtle differences between verbs that look almost the same. Okay, for example, later you will learn the verb. Later you will learn the verb wählen, and then you will learn the verb. Not now. Later you learn the verb auswählen. If you look for meanings, they both mean the same, to choose, but you use wählen when there are unlimited options. You use auswählen when there are limited options to choose from. Let's say if you go to a store, you have a limited options to choose a dress from. But let's say if I ask you to pick a star from the sky, there are unlimited options, right? So just to tell you, they both mean the same, but when you use them depends on the context. So similarly, when you can use antworten, beantworten interchangeably, but I want you to use the correct verb for the given context, is what I'm trying to say. Homework for you, please go through it and please do the homework. One important homework that I want you to do is, if you don't do any other homework and if you have no time to learn German, put extra effort. So what you can do is pick 3 movies or series or any documentary or anything that you have binged watched again and again. So I mean anything that you like so much that you don't get bored when you watch it again and again. Now see which one can you manage to find with German audio. It can be Netflix, Prime, or any other streaming service that you are using. See if you can find that series or movie in German audio out of top 3, and then start watching it again with German audio, but without any subtitles. Okay, do not use any subtitles. You might think, okay, what is the point? I will not understand anything. It's fine. But what the goal of this is, this exercise is that you get used to German. Your ears get used to the German language. Okay, and you don't need subtitles. You don't need English audio because you already have binge watched it so many times that you know what they are talking about. Okay, so you do it for a week or two, and slowly you will see you will start picking up German vocabulary without putting any extra effort. This is some vocabulary, as I say. So every day you should try to write in a book, in your notebook, vocabulary notebook for German language. You should try to every day you should on a new page you should try to make 4 columns. In the first column you should write new nouns that you learned, new verbs that you learn, new adjectives, adverbs that you learn, and then new phrases that you learn. For example, the phrase "Ich bin satt." "Ich bin satt" means I'm full. So let's say you are at a place and someone you eating and then someone offers you more food and you want to say, no, I'm done, I'm full. You can say "Ich bin satt." "Na klar" is something, so when you want to say sure, no problem, something like that, "Na klar." Then "Es ist mir egal," "Das ist mir egal," you can say it in many different scenarios, but normally it means that you don't care, or it is irrelevant to you, or it is not important to you. Again, there are many ways to use it. Then, for example, "Natürlich künstlich." Natürlich means, it can mean many things. It is also, you can also use it instead of "na klar," but here when I say natürlich, it means natural, and künstlich means artificial. Okay, nötig is necessary, unnötig is unnecessary. So similarly, you can try to write every day new words, new verbs, new nouns that you learn in German language. Please see if you can follow this advice. Thank you very much for listening.